Hello to you. I'm Michelle Eve, and welcome to the Mystical Times blog podcast, episode 1. On this episode, I'll be talking about 3 spooky tales from my hometown of Tewkesbury. Tewkesbury is a medieval market town in the county of Gloucestershire and is best known for the Battle of Tewkesbury in 1471 and Tewkesbury Abbey. Being such a historic place with many medieval buildings, it has many stories of ghosts, hauntings and things that go bump in the night. Many of its well-known buildings are said to be haunted, but there are those private residences who, if you speak to the occupants, have their own spooky encounters to share. If you head west of the Abbey, you'll come across a beautiful row of Victorian houses, and it is in one of these houses that a previous occupant had a very spooky encounter. The Boots. Diane wrote to me to share her experience of a house in Tewkesbury. It was in the 1960s when Diane and her family lived in one of these Victorian houses. It was in the early afternoon on an autumn day when Diane, who was around 4 years of age, was sitting in the living room watching a children's show on the TV whilst her mother was busy in the kitchen. The TV was placed into the area under the bay window. Diane's attention was soon drawn to under the television set as she noticed a rather large pair of polished black boots. She remarked that they were the biggest boots she had ever seen, and as she looked quizzically at them, she realised they were attached to a pair of khaki trousers. As she looked further up, she saw it was a male figure, dressed as a soldier. He wore some sort of military uniform, and as she went to look up to his face, she saw that he was completely headless. She went on to tell me that this didn't faze her, as she was more interested in the massive size of those shiny black boots. The figure slowly dispersed, and she went on to watch her TV show. This next story is from me. The Whispering Women. My house in Tewkesbury is 3 stories high, and on the first night sleeping here, I awoke around 3 a.m. and got up to go to the bathroom. As I was walking across the landing, I heard 3 women talking. The voices appeared to come from mid-air above the 5th step on the stairway. The accents were that of Gloucestershire, but their words seemed a little different from today's way of talking. Of course, I was a little sleepy and disorientated due to being in a different house, but was aware enough of clearly hearing these voices, but not being able to distinguish what was being said until the last sentence, which was, "She can hear us." It was then all went quiet. This part of the house is an extension, which was added in the 1980s, so it would have originally been the garden. There was another incident of a disembodied voice being heard, but this time it was my adult son who heard it. His room is on the 3rd floor, so there's another set of stairs in this 3-story house. His room is self-contained with ensuite facilities, so it's usually only him who uses this second set of stairs. One morning, my son asked if I'd called his name around 5 a.m. He said it had woken him up, and as it was a female voice, he thought it was me. And I said no, it wasn't me, as I didn't wake up till after 6 a.m. This is the first time his name has been called by a disembodied voice. He said the voice hadn't scared him, as he thought it was me, but thought it was odd at the time, as it seemed to be coming down from the bottom of the stairs leading to his room, which is the landing from where I heard the Whispering Women from the first set of stairs. He also said that the voice had elongated his name, and so far it hasn't happened to him again since. And now our final tale from Tewkesbury, The Spooky Staircase. Not far from where I live is another 3-story house where things started to get spooky for the new homeowners, Natalie and Steve. They moved into the house in 2008, and Natalie, being sensitive to unseen forces, felt the house had a presence, but felt peaceful most times. It was autumn when the couple moved in, and it took them a while to get used to the house noises. All those knocks and creaks become normalised as they made the house into their home. Natalie began hearing distinctive footsteps on the second staircase, especially in the early hours of the morning. Whatever was making these journeys up and down this staircase became more brazen, and the footsteps were even heard during the afternoons too. As time passed, there were more unexplainable noises such as knocks on walls, creaks and doors being closed within the house. Then the smells began. At first there was a strong tobacco smell downstairs, and a strong smell of an old-fashioned perfume like Lily of the Valley would be smelt on that second staircase. There was a strong built-in bookcase that covered the wall on the second staircase and was totally filled with many, many books. It came to Natalie's attention that certain books were being pulled out of the bookcase so that they stuck out. These books that this happened to were those of a paranormal theme, such as a book about the Borley Rectory, the Ancient Ram Inn, and one of Natalie's favourites, a book about Mary's King's Close in Edinburgh. Natalie told me she found it odd that the oldest building on the site of her house, the 16th century black and white beamed out building, had very little activity, apart from light bulbs which would flicker now and again, but that was all. The couple soon adopted a beautiful black and white cat, and once he had settled in, Natalie noticed that he would stare at the staircase and look as though he was watching someone or something walking up and down the stairs. It was very unnerving when she saw him do this and could hear the stairs creaking at the same time. She said he would normally walk up the first flight of stairs, but when going up the second floor, he would always run. After being in this house for several years, it was time for them to move into another house. It was the last Saturday before they were to move out, and the house was mainly packed up, so when they got up that morning, they got up and went into the kitchen to make coffee. But as they entered the kitchen, they noticed a puddle in the middle of the tiled floor. In fact, it was a perfect circle of see-through liquid, measuring around 20 inches in diameter. They checked for any leaking pipes. It hadn't rained, and they checked for any drips, but none could be found. So, being brave, they smelt it, just in case it was cat pee. But no, it wasn't anything that could be easily explained. Both Natalie and Steve had to simply admit they could find no idea as to why this water was on the floor or where it had come from. Whatever had been haunting their house could have left this mystery puddle as a way of saying goodbye. So that's it for episode 1. I hope you enjoyed hearing these spooky stories from Tewkesbury. If you have a spooky story that you'd like to share with me, especially if it happened in Gloucestershire, then please go to my website at www.mysticaltimesblog.com. For the next episode, I'll be talking about haunted pubs. Till next time.